they clearly needed to save money, but they started creating problems. They had a management change and started creating problems, put performance reviews in and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, so I got excellent and all my other ones for the 2 years I've worked there. You've started and now you're giving me, I need to improve. And then now you're firing me. Like, but she won her case. Because it was like with a big like social media company, so they just couldn't.
Unfair dismissal.
Unfair dismissal, and then she got like a big payout. So
no, it makes sense. Cause,
I was like, call out racism,
yeah,
anything you can, sexism,
yeah, straight up,
get a payout.
Yeah, no, that actually happened to someone I know at my current workplace. Like basically, they wanted to get rid of him, and what they did, they kind of like restructured the role. Or like they gave like a different and then like created these like unfair targets and stuff like that. But I saw it coming.
Yeah, that's so.
And I feel like workplaces do that anyways in general.
Yeah,
but they have to do it that way though.
Why? But why can't they just be honest?
That's the thing, because like they can't just actually get rid of someone like in an honest way. So that's unfair dismissal as well.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that's true.
Yeah, so they have to like create all these different.
Yeah, do you know, like, so I work for the NHS, and the NHS do it in a different way. So there was a woman who was just really bad at her job role, but they couldn't get rid of her. She'd been there for like 12 years or something. They couldn't get rid of her. So they created almost like a post that wasn't real. Like, it was real, like there was money there for the post, but it was to get her out of that role.
So to get
someone else could do her job properly. And they just, now she's like a floating person who just helps in different places.
Oh, so she's still there?
She's still there, yeah, because they couldn't get rid of her.
So they still couldn't get rid of her,
because they can't do stuff like, even in the NHS, basically you have to like kill someone, or they're not getting rid of you unless your contract's up.
That's crazy.
So,
well, my other friend, he works for NHS. Obviously, I'm not gonna say his name, but if he's listening to this, because he does tune in, like he's probably gonna hear it. But like he had this thing of like, I think he took his laptop. So he went on holiday, and he took his work laptop on holiday with him, and he's not meant to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but like, he went through this whole like procedure, like where but they kind of want to get rid of him as well, but that wasn't enough.
So he wasn't allowed to take his work laptop on holiday?
No, he's not. Like, I can't remember the exact ins and outs, but basically he's not meant to have the laptop down there, or he wasn't meant to go on. Actually, he wasn't meant to go away at that time, or something like that. But he had to go away because, like, his grandma wasn't like doing well and all of that stuff, so he kind of had to be there.
Stuff happens.
I mean, that's the thing. This is where I really get confused about like workplaces in general. Like, they're not always like understanding of people's like human beings in general. Yeah.
And work is one aspect of someone's life, but I feel like management want you to if they make work their life, they want their employees to do the same. Yeah. But I'm always very straight up when I start somewhere. Like, obviously, like I love my job and I love all of that, but I'm like, my kids are my priority. So if I'm sick, I'm sick. Like that, if they're sick, I can't be in. And it can be like, I guess it can like affect a team. But at the same time, what am I meant to do?
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? I can't come and die for this. So yeah, it's difficult.
But that's kind of like, it's a strength to be there for people in general, but then it's also at the same time, it's like it's something that will like, get in the way in your well-being as well.
Yeah, no, that's true. What do you think makes like a good manager?
I love this. You're just throwing out podcast questions. Sorry. No, it's cool. It's cool. No, there's no rules. There's no rules. Like, we do it anyhow.
Okay, cool.
What makes someone a good manager? I don't know. I actually don't know. I just feel like, and the reason I say this is because I feel like, and obviously I know you're asking for what it is for me, but I just feel like every single person is going to want something different. So I don't think there is a good manager. I think there's a understanding between two people where they kind of connect, or they sort of like each other, or each other's ways of working, and then that becomes effective. So it's more like, how do people find each other within the workplace of
I get. Do you know what? Like, so all my life, I've had obviously a few jobs in my life. Career-wise, I've only actually had 2 jobs, and my first manager was like an absolute mess. Like, do you know, like someone who's really scatty in their mind, and they just can't. It then affects the rest of the team. So she had anxiety, which I don't know if it was diagnosed, but she definitely did. And it would be like, okay, can you check the resus trolley, which is like for resuscitation. So obviously that's important. Yeah. And it has to be done within the first hour of your shift starting. But she would want it done immediately. And it'd be like, but I want to drink water. So like, just chill kind of thing. And she would just make the whole day really tense, like running up and down. And it changed my experience in
Yeah.
nursing with her there. Loved her. Like, we got on personality wise like this, but it was just too much. Like, I was like, I love you, but I just can't. Then like my job now, my manager is the complete opposite. Like, she's very much like laid back. If mistakes happen, they can be fixed. So it you work to your best ability, the best of your ability naturally. One, because she's so amazing, you don't want to let her down. But two, because, you know, if you can't do something, you can tell her, I can't do this. And then we come to like a conclusion. But basically, I'm obsessed with my manager.
Yeah,
Like,
no, that's
so,
lit.
you know, like, she's like the best person. And I had quite a few like tough moments in the last 2 years of working there, and I don't think I would have been like so great in my career now without someone like that.
Yeah.
So even the thought of I'm going on to a new job, like, I have anxiety about that, because I'm like, oh
Yeah. Do you know what's interesting about like new jobs or just jobs in general? I was thinking about it like in a way of like it's kind of like a bus stop or like a train stop. So it's like you go from one station to another, and that's what it really is. It's just
that's a good way of thinking about it, actually.
So it's kind of like you're traveling, wherever the end goal is. I don't know, before people retire or whatever they want to do in life. But it's just like there'll be different stops before we get to sort of to the end bit.
That's true. But I think like fear is like a big part of it. Like, change makes me scared.
Yeah.
Because you just don't know what it's gonna look like.
Do you think that's a fight, flight, or freeze response to some extent?
I guess, I don't know.
Because there is like an element of survival, right? It's obviously it's not in a physical. We're not actually fighting for our lives physically, but at the same time, there is this kind of like thing of like, cool, if you don't have this job or if you don't have this thing, then the survival thing becomes more difficult.
Yeah, it becomes more difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never thought of it like that. It's more for me. It's because of I have a family, so moving jobs means changing childcare. It means like I might have to like financially pay more towards childcare. So it's like all of those things scare me. Although I've done it before and I've been fine. So I do like to just take the leap and just be like, it will be fine at the time. But it's that time in between that's like, it's awful, really. Like, I'm going for a new job now, and like I'm really excited about it, but it's a lot more responsibility. A lot more people be relying on me. I'll be managing a lot more people, and I want to be an example of a good manager. So sometimes I worry that my life commitments might get in the way, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but I like that. So I think even that question when you asked earlier, like, you know, what makes a good manager, I think that's already stemming from that thing of like, you want to be that person.
Yeah.
Within your next role.
Yeah. I feel like it could literally change someone's life. Like, I know that sounds really dramatic.
No, it's
but I feel like she changed my life. Like, I lost my dad during this job. Like, my relationship breakdown really hit, like, can I swear?
Yeah.
Well, like, shit hit the fan in my relationship breakdown, and it was like so many different things. And then like I had issues with anxiety, and it's like I wouldn't have got through that without someone like that. So I would love to do that for someone else. So it's just about like the fear of having that responsibility, if you know what I mean. But
no, I get that. Like I think that's a normal thing. Like, I just feel like life is so funny because like I know that best things happen outside my comfort zone, or they're always there. And it's just like, and that thing of like being scared of being outside my comfort is that it just makes no sense. Like, I know it's there, I know the growth is there, I know everything's there. So it's like, why am I scared of it? Like, what's it's so funny.
It is like, I'm someone who's always been like, I wouldn't say I care what people think about me, but people have a perception of me just from meeting me, and then I feel like I have to meet those like expectations, if you know what I mean. And I don't know why.
But so that's the thing. How would you know that expectation is there though?
No, it's, I guess. So, I mean, I can only use like my family. So I think it stemmed from me being young. Like, I'm the youngest of 6. And I was just I was a very confident child. Like, when I say I'd like perform in front of people for no reason and stuff like that. But I was always very just a good girl. Like, I listened. I did well in school. And then everyone started to run with this thing of Olympia is just an angel and Olympia can't do no wrong. So I was doing wrong, but I would just hide it. So it was like, even in school, the teachers would be like, Olympia, like, you hang around with the wrong people, you have so much potential and blah blah. It's like, you don't know it's me that's instigated all the naughty things. But I could never just be honest about that because I was scared of letting them down because they already had these expectations.
Yeah.
So I've definitely like spoken about it in therapy and stuff and like moved past that because even starting my own podcast, I had to because I'm talking about stuff on there that my mum could hear. And let's just say it's not for the faint-hearted,
Yeah.
but I would never
I've seen some of the topics.
Yeah. So we're
I've
quite open. We speak about sex a lot. We speak about just, like general issues. But before that, I wouldn't have wanted anyone to see that side of me because I'd think they would judge me. But I just had to get to the point where it's just like, do you know what? Like, I'm going to step outside of my comfort zone and be myself and just do something that I actually like doing, which is talking a lot.
No, it's nice. It's actually refreshing to have that as well. Because sometimes, like with some of the episodes that we shoot, it just kind of like it becomes this thing of like we have to drag things out and all of that stuff. So just the fact that you're sitting there, just like flowing, it's nice. It's refreshing.
Yeah, I'm an open person. And that's what's difficult sometimes because it's like being open but also protecting yourself. Like I feel like there's got to be like a boundary.
But I'm always interested in like what people protect. So like even for me, like my journey in the last like 5 years has been around just being as honest as possible with everything, just like straight up, like straight away.
But when you say honest, do you mean if you're asked a question, or just about with anything? Like if your friend was like, is this drawing good? And
yeah, I'd say if it's shit, I'll say it's shit.
Okay.
Yeah.
But would you be delicate about it, or would you just?
Depends on the friendship I've got with that person.
Okay.
Like I think most of my friends would know that I don't have bad intentions. If they really know me, they'll know that I don't have bad intentions. So if I have to explain myself to the person that my intentions are not bad, and I might say in a particular way, then that person doesn't really know me in the first place.
Okay. No, I get what you mean. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Although I do think, sorry, to come back, because I do get that. Like, I feel like your friends should know you never have like bad intentions, but I think sometimes it depends when you deliver something and how you deliver it. So even if someone knows you don't have bad intentions, like for example, just say it was a drawing they're about to submit after working on it for a month, I feel like that might not be the right time to tell them that it's shit. Because it's done anyways. There's nothing else they can do about it, and it could be once, because obviously if it's shit, it's going to get marked, and it's going to get marked shit anyways. And I feel like then afterwards that would be the time to be like, listen, like you could have done, I feel like this could have been better, that could have been better. But I feel like timing is really important. Like I remember there was an occasion where something bad happened with one of my relationships, and I know my friend was trying to comfort me, but her thing was like, well, you let this happen to you, blah, 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 blah. So I was kind of like, rah, like I just needed you to hug me like in this moment and be on my side, essentially.
But she was
telling the truth though, because it's like if you allow people to take advantage of you, they will just continue to take advantage. It's just more of a timing
issue.
It was more of a timing
something
issue.
Different at that time.
Yeah, exactly. But it was like I got what she was saying, but I wanted to slap her at the time.
But you know what it is? I think it's around empathy, right? So like obviously I think people will be like on a different like spectrum of empathy. Like some people have less, some people have more. And I think there's something around like, so for me naturally, I feel like I'm always able to kind of like read out of the room, or kind of understand what the person's maybe going through, or if the timing is right. So that's something that's natural. I don't have to think about it in a particular way. I think sometimes there is the element of like asking someone like, are you in the right space for me to talk about this? I think, and it's a nice, easy way of checking in with the person.
Like communicating and just But so as a man, I know I'm throwing questions out there. As a man, no, but like because I feel like men communicating with each other is very different.
This is gonna be an interesting conversation, by the way. But,
No, but okay. In general, I feel like when men communicate, just from my experience of what I've been told, they're not always as open as women can be. Like, would you agree with that?
Yeah, you know why I agree with that. So I think, I do some work with young men between like ages of 16 to 25, and I run something called Man Talk.
Okay.
With a friend of mine. But the whole concept around it is where men can talk about things that men don't usually talk about.
Yeah.
So the whole like, emotional intelligence, like maybe, talking about cultural differences, because for some men actually, some people can't open up culturally because of the religion or other things. So there's all these different sort of like barriers or things that stop men from doing it. But there's one interesting one that came up for me quite often. So like, there's this like kind of like platonic love between man, that doesn't necessarily exist. Like I see within like women kind of do that, but within men it's kind of like, like saying like, I love you, bro, and just giving a hug or whatever, because that's usually most of the time it's kind of seemed as or deemed as like he's gay, like someone's like, oh that's gay, or whatever, and I realize that men have been conditioned to maybe be in a particular type of way.
I definitely, I feel like society has conditioned men. But what I love about this, because it's something that I have observed, and I definitely see it changing and growing. But like, obviously, I'm a woman. I am all for women's rights, and I'm very much like, I will speak up for issues about women, issues about being a black woman. Like, I'm very passionate about that, and I feel that way about black men and just men in general. But I also like to see when men are being proactive and actually challenging these things, because it's like, if I come and say it, no one's going to listen to me. So like, when I hear even you saying you do the men's talk thing, like, I love that, because I'm like, I feel like more men need to do stuff like that and make a movement for yourself, to just be like, I'm a man and I know it's like this, rather than a woman from the outside just observing.
No, definitely. But I think at the end of the day, everyone's going to have and I don't use the term valid. I think I was going to have a view on particular points, right? So it doesn't mean because you're a woman your view's not valid, or it doesn't add value to a particular cause or particular thing. So I think it's just more about what is the value in the person's perspective on that thing. Can we extract the value of
But I feel like our role would be to support rather than to actually like set it up and do
I mean,
of that.
personally, like I'm always up for like challenges personally. I know some men or other men might not be up for it. So sometimes I like that side of like someone saying, you know what, why don't you do this, or why don't you look at that, rather than being there just supporting. I think because there is that thing of like, cool, if there's a challenge and if the challenge is valid, then the person will grow from that anyways. Yeah. To some extent.
Yeah, no, it's true. But I do really I love that you do that. Do you guys speak about your traumas and stuff? Like, is that a thing that not necessarily in your men's talk, but just in your life? Do you talk with your other male friends about that stuff?
You know what? Sometimes I talk about, I've spoken about mine. So I've got a friend of mine. I talk to him about like most things, to be honest. Okay. Actually, he's the one person that we can just talk about anything. Okay. Like literally.
So that's like your confidant.
Yeah, but the interesting part is because he's not kind of there, but because he's there, like I don't really need to use that sort of like space for those conversations anyways, because like I feel like a lot of the things that I was dealing with in the past, like I've dealt with now. So
okay, so it's
not I'm in a good space. There's obviously I'm not perfect, there's still things that I'm working on, but I don't feel like I need that. I don't think like I need to have someone there to just talk about traumas or
because you've worked through them.
Yeah.
That makes all the difference. I think that's probably the difference between you and a lot of people. Like you think you've dealt with something, but you just suppress it. Like I've definitely realized that about myself. Like I've dealt with a lot of things, but other things, because so much other things are going on, I would just be like, okay, that can wait, and then I'd forget about it. But then, like, recently I started writing a book, and it was based around, like, me and my life. But, I mean, I made up a fake character, but it's definitely me. And as I was, like, going through and writing, like, all these memories that had completely been wiped from my brain, that I'd completely just pushed down, started coming out. And then I ended up just sort of being really down for, like, a good week and a half, because all of these things had surfaced. And it was just, like, what's going on? Like, I thought I was okay. But then, like, since then I've felt so amazing, and I feel so much lighter, because although those things weren't at the forefront of my mind, they were weighing me down. Like I just didn't notice them. But yeah, I'm working on it.
No, that's lit. Yeah, that's lit. But, I think the fact that it came out in first place, that means it was significant enough for you to think about it, or to have to like remember it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the book that I was writing, because it was essentially about like someone who's ended up, I know I said it's about me, the actual story wasn't about me, but all the events in it was. So it was about someone who's like ended up in a situation that they never thought they would. And then like going back to all the things that had happened that had led them there. So I had to sort of like really pick into like stuff when I was a kid, like stuff about like my dad, because I told you I lost my dad last year, but growing up I didn't have him. So that loss was such a strange one, because it's like, how do you grieve someone that has never been there?
I mean, you kind of been grieving anyways.
Well, that's what I thought until I actually lost him, and it was like the worst thing that's ever happened to me.
Because it's almost like not having him dead multiplied by, you know.
Yeah, and it was just, I guess it was just as well, like accepting that this is it. That's all what I've had is all I'm ever gonna have, and that was kind of hard to accept. But yeah, I mean, life is life, if you know what I mean. And I got to say everything to my dad. He got to say things to me. So like, I'm blessed to have had that. But yeah, that book was like, I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse, to be honest. It brought up a lot of stuff. But.
I mean, like the stuff would have stayed there if it didn't come out in the book anyways.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing as well. Like I've realized, so like 2 years ago, like I've learned something about myself, that I became very sort of like hyper independent because of how I was brought up. So like my mom wasn't really there because she was trying to create a better life for me, and so I was I had to learn how to do everything myself in a weird way. But then what I didn't realize is subconsciously for years I was carrying that. I was kind of doing things in that particular way. So it's just like when someone would try to help me with certain things, I'd be like, no, I got it. I do. Basically, I was just doing everything myself.
Okay.
I didn't realize that's because I've been conditioned to be like that. I've learned how to cope within what I was doing in life in general.
And how did that realization come?
That was actually through therapy.
Okay.
Yeah, I was doing therapy. I did therapy,
get everything out of you in
therapy. Yeah,
you know?
that was through therapy actually. Okay. Was really good. And then after that I started making like small changes. So like even with like small things, like if someone like, oh, I'll pick you up, like, or whatever, like I'll do this for you, I'll be like, you know what, cool.
Okay.
Because in the past I'd be like, nah, even like the
but
small things.
But it was like a conscious effort.
Yeah. It was hard because like my auto response has always been like, no, I got this. I'll do it myself. I'll do that myself.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, you know what, it's cool. Even like simple things, like someone would be like, I'd never let anyone buy me like things like food or coffee or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, in the past. And now if someone goes like, I'll get you a coffee. Like,
but if someone had got one for you already, would you take it?
I probably would, but even then I would have been uncomfortable because I would have. I think subconsciously I would have been like, I need to get this myself. I need to.
I owe you now. Did you feel like that?
No.
No, not like that.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
I would say, because I'm a giver anyway, so it's not like it's like if I've got someone, I've got them anyways, regardless if they buy or not.
Yeah.
Because that's unconditional. I think the whole like someone gets you something and you get them something, whatever. I think that there's a condition attached because that means if the person keeps getting something for me all the time, then that means there's a condition.
No, that makes
because when the person stops getting it, then you stop getting them something as well. Then it's just like it wouldn't make sense. Here's a question for you.
Okay.
And I think the reason I said it's going to be a beautiful conversation because I know there's some interesting topics that you guys talk about in your podcast.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you, do you think men and women can be friends?
That's a good question. I would definitely say yes, because I've definitely got male friends that is completely platonic. But I guess it's just about how you met them.
But how would you know? So how would you know it's platonic from their side? How would you know they're not interested in you in a different type of way? But maybe they're suppressing it, or
that's true. Yeah. But I would hope that my friend would be able to be honest with me. Like if we talk about everything else, I'd hope that that's something you could bring to me. But you never know. But this is gonna sound really sexist of me, but I feel like a lot of guys would, like, if they were friends with a girl, they secretly would be like, cool, if she was like, let's cross that line, they'd probably cross it. That's just my opinion, which is a bit small-minded, but because I don't think that's in every case. A lot of the male friends that I've had, they've usually been in relationships as well, which I think helps create a boundary definitely from their side. Because I'm never going to disrespect your girlfriend. You're not going to disrespect your girlfriend. If you are, it ain't going to be with me. So I feel like that helps. But I've got a friend, and the majority of her close friends are boys. And I mean, unless they're having secret affairs, like, it is just platonic. But she has a personality that I think men really relate to. And I think that's like the difference. Like, I wouldn't say I have loads of male friends. Like, a line has been crossed with some of them to the point that I can't say you're my friend because I wouldn't do that with my other friends, if you know what I mean. So I don't know. What about you?
Yeah, so I think for me personally, on a personal level, I can't be friends with someone that I like. So like if I knew I liked someone, like I wouldn't be spending time around that person, or I wouldn't be friends with them.
Okay.
Just because I feel like if someone's interested in someone like more than, like if they're interested in the person romantically, then I feel like that kind of like creates a sort of like weird dynamic where there's always something at the back of their head of like if someone's spending time with the other person.
Yeah.
But generally, I don't think most men and women can be friends. I think,
Why though?
And do you know why? Because I've got friends, guy friends that like they've got women as friends, but they see them as it's a
There's like
so it's from a personal experience.
Dynamics there.
Yeah, like they're interested in them differently, but they'll pretend to be friends with them.
Do you know, that's a good example. I had a friend for a really long time in secondary school, and like nothing ever happened with us, but I knew that he liked me, and he had told me, but I was very clear on like that's not. I don't see you in that way. Like I love you, but not in that way. And like now that we're adults, like I mean, I'm 29, he's like 30 something, and like he hates me, like he resents
he hates
me.
You.
No, but he does. Like I didn't think he did until I saw him like I think it was sometime last year, and we were just like chilling, like in my car, everything was fine. And then he was waved, so he made a comment. I was sober, he was drinking, and he made a comment kind of like, oh, like the reason that he treats his girl so bad now is because of people like me, because he felt I led him on for a really long time and broke his heart. But I felt like I was very honest. But then looking back, I'm like, you're right. I don't think you should like let someone who likes you, if you like them, you shouldn't be hanging out. It's just not fair. Because in the back of their mind, they are probably thinking maybe something.
But then he kind of in a weird way, I feel like he let himself down as well, because like if he knows, like that's why I said I wouldn't hang around with someone. So you know, if I had the same situation as he did, and you know, I expressed to someone that I liked them, and then they were not interested in the same way, and then I wouldn't hang around with that person. Yeah. Because I would just set myself up for failure, like he did, and then obviously he's blaming you for particular things and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely blame him. I'm just like, but I sort of feel like I could have done things differently. Like if I could go back, as much as I valued his friendship, I would have valued it better from a distance and not have this like resentment here now. Because although we're cool still, and it's not like, do you know, it just wasn't really nice to see someone you haven't seen for a long time and think you're going to catch up, and that's something they say, because it made me think like, shit, I don't want to be like a stain on your life. And it wasn't a nice, like, I guess that's probably a selfish way of thinking, but I didn't want to have been that person for him, and I just felt really guilty about that. But
I think his situation is like hurt people, and you know, that's a phrase people use a lot, but I truly believe in that. I feel like people that get defeated by experience, they will then kind of create similar experiences for other people. I think sometimes it's more difficult to go, you know what, like this experience is painful, but I'm gonna overcome that experience and then basically just, you know, still stay the same. And I think a lot of people change because of like bad experiences, and they get hurt and then they start treating other people the same. It's kind of like that's the way of survival for them. And that's how they protect themselves, by treating other people in a particular type of way, because they don't need to have that emotional, like intimate connection, or you know.
Like they've just put a bit of a wall up. And they're not gonna let themselves be vulnerable again. I definitely hear it, because I think from starting, well, I had therapy last year and I started like a new one this year. Just from doing that, like I've realised that working on yourself is something you have to do forever. Like it's almost like
doesn't end,
if you're a drug addict, you can't just stop taking drugs and you're cool. Like for the rest of your life, you're going to be battling with yourself, and you just have to keep on working and keep on working. And I feel like you just saying about like how people put a wall up and stuff like that, I'm just like, oh my gosh, there's another issue I need to work out. Because from my last relationship, I'm like, I'm someone who loves love, but I'm also very pessimistic of recent about it. So like if I see another person's relationship, I'm like, I bet they're not really happy.
Yeah.
Which is such a negative way
That
to
is,
think.
yeah.
And I don't want to think like that because even in my relationship, I was happy once. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't mean that everything is bad, but when I see it in my mind, I'm like, nothing lasts forever. But I'm like, I need to work on that, but I don't know how to.
So there's a saying, so not like people usually say like, oh, the grass might be green on the other side and all of that stuff. But one thing I've realized, the grass is only greener where you water it. So sometimes there is that thing of like, it might not be, things are never perfect.
Yeah.
And sometimes you might look in a relationship, like some people will portray like everything's amazing and whatever, but behind closed doors, they'll have disagreements. And I think that's part of growth. I think what makes a great relationship is where two people can disagree on particular things, then kind of like process that learning and then compromise or agree with the way forward. And they can do that constantly and just...
Yeah, which is the hardest part, is to keep that up and to constantly do it. I agree with that as well. I feel like two people willing to work through anything, but they have to be willing to work on themselves. And I feel like that's a big thing missing in a lot of relationships. Like you hear a lot of, well, this is how I am, or this is how I was when you met me, so what's the problem now? Like, rather than... You don't have to change. I don't think anyone should change you, but I think you should want to change. You should want to be better. You should want to be better today than you was yesterday.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people lack that, especially when they get comfortable.
Yeah.
Do you think there's anything such as over communicating in a relationship?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think there is. No, I think there is. I'm just thinking of, you know what, actually, let me put it this way. So from my experience in general, like women would always be like, oh, like I want a guy that's transparent, or like, that will communicate all the time and, just basically say what he thinks and all of that stuff. But I realized that I've been in particular scenarios in the past where it kind of backfired. Like maybe I was being too honest or...
Okay. Too open.
Yeah. And it's just like, and I was just thinking like, shit, maybe I shouldn't be doing that. But then my learning was that different people appreciate different things.
That's what I was going to say. It might have been different with a different person in that situation.
Yeah, and then there was I was kind of like questioning myself for a little while, like, do women say that they want that and then that's not what they want? And I was a bit confused on that front. But then I realised that it's a thing of like, people appreciate.
And I think a lot of us don't know what we want though. Not women, people. I think we have an idea of what we want, but that's never the reality. Like, you could be dating someone and think this is amazing and I would love to be with you, and then when you're with them it's completely different. So I feel like maybe that is what they wanted, and then when they was actually getting it, it was like, oh, actually maybe this isn't.
So did you mean like in a dating sort of scenario, as in a relationship scenario?
Yeah, like in a relationship scenario.
Yeah, no, that's true. I think I've been ignorant in the past, but like I used to think that I want to have a relationship, but then I would just be dating and kind of like pretending to get into a relationship sort of thing.
Yeah,
and I'd be like, actually that's not, and I was like, that's not me. But yeah, I made a lot of adjustments on that front as well.
Yeah. Sorry, do you mind if I ask you how old you are?
I'm 16. Yeah, no, I'm joking. I'm 31.
Okay, so we're kind of, well, I'm 29, so we're kind of in the same. Yeah, no, because I feel like at this point in your life as well, like getting older, there's a lot of things that you've overcome. Like, I think what I thought I wanted from a partner was just someone who was like obsessed with me and would just like do all of the things that I wanted with me, and I would do the stuff that they wanted. But I'm like, there's so much more in a relationship. Like, for me now, like, morals is one thing I just can't ever compromise on. Whereas before I was kind of like, we don't have to agree on everything on like morals. I did think, but I was like, I love this man, so maybe he'll change. But there's like certain things like morals, I guess how you see like your family and friends really matters to me now, because I feel like I want someone who I can also experience how they're loved and how everyone else, like how they love other people as well, not just me. It just gives you a better sense of someone, if you know what I mean. But
no, I get that.
Yeah,
I think I think there's certain things people will compromise on, and I think there's certain things people shouldn't compromise on. And it's the whole thing of like, people will have, I use this term of like unwritten rules. Like every single person will have their own set of unwritten rules. So for example, like things that I might do, or like I might treat people in a particular way, then I want people to treat me. Yeah. But if I don't communicate what that unwritten rule is, like no one's going to know about it.
That's true, yeah.
So it's like, for example, like, I don't know, just a simple example would be, so if I open the door, I might hold it for a person. So that's my unwritten rule. But then no one knows that, unless I tell them. But then when someone else doesn't do the same thing to me, I might get pissed off. I might be like, why can't this person just hold the door for me?
Yeah.
And then,
do you feel like in a relationship you need to, like, I guess, or not even relationship, but even friendships, like, do you feel like you guys need to mirror each other's behaviours? Or do you feel like, if I know my friend likes this thing, I would do that thing for my friend and I would expect them to do the same? Because I have this habit of, I do what I want for other people all the time, thinking they're going to do it back, and then they never do.
But that's the thing, that's your unwritten rule.
Yeah,
But the thing is, it's like, you're most likely not communicating it. So unless you're telling...
But what if you do and they still don't do it?
Well, then they're just a bunch of arseholes.
Okay, I agree.
Yeah, they're just a bunch of arseholes.
No, because I've noticed that that's what I do, but at the same time, it's like they haven't asked me to do that thing, and they probably would be fine with receiving what they give to me because that's just how they are. So it's just difficult because it's like, I like really sentimental things and stuff like that, but then my friends would be like, okay, cool, like, as long as we have a good night, that's all I need. Like, I'm not going to buy you anything or make you anything. Whereas I'm like, I want pictures of the day we met every single day in a little diary so I can keep it forever. But yeah, I mean, I don't know with that, like, love language stuff, like, I don't really know how it works because you almost have to compromise who you are to meet someone else's love language.
Yeah, I think so. I think there is that love language aspect as well. But if both people understand what their love languages are, then it makes it easier to just...
Yeah, but what if, like, okay, just say a scenario. Okay. You hate physical touch, like, you hate physical touch, but you're dating a girl and that's her love language. How do you compromise on that?
Does anyone hate physical touch?
Some people do, though. Like, some people
so
really...
Why are they dating then? That's just...
No, but so some people only like it in certain settings. So it's like, okay, if they're having sex, or okay, if
but
you're
not
sad
in general,
and I'm
like,
giving you a cuddle, but like, not if we're watching a film, like, I want to be in your skin. Do you know what I mean? Like, what if that is your girl's love language?
Do you know what it is? You're talking to the wrong person, because my love language is physical touch.
Yeah.
So no, I can't even relate or understand that part.
Okay, what about let's do a different one. Words of affirmation. So imagine you're not someone who's very, like, expressive with your words, or you might not even be that observant, and then your person wants you to affirm them regularly.
I see what you're saying.
It's a lot of effort, and I think sometimes, unless it's something that you're like, I'm gonna do this today, I just feel like it's a hard compromise.
Yeah.
So I'm like, maybe you just have to match.
But the thing is, people can do it though.
Yeah.
And I think that's my point. Like, people can do it. I think if someone cared about the other person, on a very significant level, they'll do it anyways.
That's true.
You know, if they're aware, it's like, if you know that's what the person prefers and you really like that person, I think it goes back to that compromise.
But do you think it will last though? Because I feel like when people make a conscious effort, it usually has an expiry date.
Well, so that's the thing. So I look at things slightly differently anyways, but I think what could potentially happen is that the person will get so accustomed to doing that that it becomes a normal. It becomes a norm.
That's
because
true.
At the start it might be something that's new, something that the person's not used to, but if they can build it and then just...
I'm getting flashbacks, negative ones.
Seriously. Oh God.
Do you know, like, I've been in a situation where I've, like, openly expressed what my love language is, and it's like, it would be fixed up for a period of time. Then it would be like, I have to say it again, to the point that it's just like, maybe I don't like words of affirmation. Don't worry about it. Like, it's fine.
Well, but that's the thing. So it's either, I think, I don't know, maybe there's another third option, but I think there's kind of two options, right? So number one, either you then find someone that can do that naturally, or I think it's down to the other person who maybe they can't do it naturally, but they can maybe build to that point where they can do it. Yeah. But then I think it's about that person making that sort of effort and putting the effort in. Because if you need to keep telling the person all the time that the person's not doing then that's not the person.
That's not effort.
Yeah, that's not effort. Yeah. Because you just have to remind them all the time.
Yeah, no, that's dead.
But yeah, listen, how do you get your feeling of importance? Slightly different direction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I like this direction because I love talking about it. My kids. So my kids are like the absolute, like, I always say that I feel like God knew that I needed them because my kids are very close in age and they all came at once, and I went from a 22-year-old who could do whatever they wanted, and I was working, I had a career, but I didn't really care about anything.
Yeah.
And then at 23, I had my son, and it was just like everything changed.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like I'm even getting emotional talking about it, because like they just changed my life. And it's like, not to the point that it's like, oh my God, my kids are the only thing that matter in the whole entire world. They sort of just made me realize what actually matters in life. And they've made me want to live my life to the best of my ability for them to see me do that, so that they can live the same. And I just didn't know I could ever feel so like content, if you know what I mean. So I work harder, I earn more money, like I do more side things, I do the things I want to do because of them. And I honestly think if I didn't have them, I would have been a 29-year-old working, but like just living rather than like thriving or like pushing. And yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, they stress me out, but I wouldn't have it any other way. But does that answer your question?
No, it does. And you know, in a weird way, you didn't have them, they had you as well.
Yeah.
And they still got you.
I love the way.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, they still got you.
Yeah, and they're just amazing people. Like kids teach adults so much, and you don't realize.
Tell me about it.
How much they teach you.
I come from youth work background, so
yeah, exactly. And it's like we think, oh, we've lived through it all, but like they are just like these amazing beings that are so innocent. Like their innocence is the most beautiful thing to watch, and they just pick up on everything. They see things that we don't see, and yeah, I'm like, I just don't know what I would be doing without them.
Do you know what? I like that aspect of, you know, when kids are young and they don't have any like limitations, and it's kind of like, you know, sky's the limit or even beyond the sky. And then we start getting older, and then there's all these like standards. You know, you can't go to this event if you don't wear a suit, or you can't do this thing. And there's so many different rules that come into play, and it kind of kills that sort of childhood.
Yeah, that innocence. Like,
yeah,
everything starts to change. Like that, I do, as a parent, like I worry about when that change comes in. And I guess my thing is like trying to prepare them to be like ready for that, and not telling them all the horrible things out there and all the expectations they're going to want to meet, but letting them love themselves enough before they get to that point. And also, because I've got 3 kids, it's about, they have like a fundamental, what's the word I'm looking for? Anyways, they basically have.
Anyways,
I can't think
it.
of the word. They're a team, like within themselves. Like they have got each other, and they're so close in age. So I've got twins, and they're 4, and I've got a son, and he's 5. So they're all very, very close in age. They're very close, and I just kind of, I'm like to them, listen, all you need is each other. Like, you're gonna go out there, and obviously you're gonna meet each other, but you always have each other's backs. Like my sister's like my best friend. Have you met my sister?
No.
I think you have. You just don't remember. But yeah. But anyway, so she's like my best friend in the whole entire world. And even when I was having little issues at school and stuff like that, like she was there in school, and she's 3 years older than me, and it was kind of like, you know, my sister's there, and it was just, I just always felt so safe. And I'm the youngest of 6, and we're all quite close. We have different relationships within the whole thing. Like, I think all families have their dynamics, but I guess just like setting them out with that, I think will make a difference. But who knows? Yeah, like I make them have each other's back. We do like role play at home, and this is my way of preparing them.
I think that's lit.
Yeah, so it'd be like, okay, if someone comes up to you and they're asking you to give them your lunch money, obviously they don't take lunch money, they're only kids, but in the future, like, what are you gonna do? And like they always like giggle and like laugh, and I'm just like, okay, no, we're gonna do this seriously. So I'm the bully and I'm doing this. What are you gonna do?
Wow.
And it's so funny because they'll literally be like, you're messing with the wrong one. You're messing with the wrong one. But it's really funny. But like I just like to I like to play out those scenarios because they are my fears, and I just wonder like what I can do to help prevent that. But kids are going to be kids, and I won't be able to protect them from everything.
Yeah, they'll be exposed to certain things. I think the most important thing, and I see this a lot actually, so that sometimes like parents would actually like maybe punish or shout at the kids for doing particular things, but I think what that creates later on in the future is that they'll probably like, you know, he said he started to hide your you know, and you know, the real person is not going to be coming out. And I think sometimes parents won't be able to have that meaningful conversation with the kid about particular things if the kid feels like they can't maybe open up about certain things because they're being, you know.
Yeah, they're going to be judged for it.
Yeah.
I feel like in our generation anyways, like we have so much around us, so many more opportunities to like heal from a lot of the things our parents might have done when they didn't have any other choice and that's all they knew. So I feel like we have to make an active effort, like an active decision to be different to our parents. And one thing I tell you is the parent you think you're going to be and the parent you are two very different things. And I honestly thought I would just be like always calm, like I'm so laid back. But some days I do shout. Like, I'll be completely honest. Some days I do shout and then I do end up feeling really guilty that I've, like, lost my temper because I always see, like, punishing children as a way of an adult losing control. The child hasn't, just because the child's dropped the plate on the floor, you're not angry at that. You've lost control and that's why you're angry.
You've given up your control.
And it's like, so I actually find it more powerful to be able to keep myself composed.
Do you know what? That's a really good point. Because there is that conversation around like reaction and response. And a lot of the times people that give up the control, they react.
No, definitely, because you're like, oh my gosh, this little brat who's just started walking has like got me this angry. No one wants to feel like that. But at the same time, I feel like parents need grace because when you have become a parent, it's so intense and they're in your face 24/7. But I'll just do something like if I know I'm really upset, what I'm going to do now is you're in your room, I'm in my room. And I'm going to come and talk to you when I'm calm because I'm angry. I'm a human. I'm going to react. Like, I don't expect parents to just be like this 24/7. But I think it's about being conscious and just being like, I know I'm angry. If I try and talk to them now, how constructive is this conversation going to be? You're just going to upset them. They're probably not going to listen. They're just going to cry. So it's just like having that distance. And I remember when I first had my son, like being so sleep deprived, and the midwife said to me, like, listen, you have to look after yourself. So if you fed your baby, they're changed, and your baby's crying, it's actually okay to leave your baby to cry for 5 minutes whilst you eat a slice of toast and drink a cup of tea. Like, don't let that make you feel that bad, because at the end of the day, you have to look after yourself in order to look after your kids. So I sort of kept that and used it for everything. So it was like, okay, they're crying and they're really upset now, but I'm angry. So they're fine, they're just upset. I'm going to take this moment to just take a breather. If I need to call my mum and cry and be like, Mom, then I'll do that. But because the worst feeling is like when your kids go to bed and it's quiet at night and you feel you've had a bad day. If you've lost control and you've shouted or you've like taken something away from them that you feel like you were too harsh for, your evening is so awful. Like you literally sit there feeling like the worst person. Like that's one thing no one talks about, the emotional part of being a parent. Like they speak about like the sleep deprivation, about finance, but the actual emotional strain being a parent, like I never expected this. Like I'm guilty every day. Like I feel guilty all the time and you don't feel like you're enough. But what I have realised is that being there and being consistent and always showing up and learning from my mistakes is all I actually need to do. Like
I think just as human beings, I think we can be really harsh on ourselves a lot of the times. Like I used to find myself in situations where like I would judge myself quite a bit and I'd be like, oh, I'm not doing this or I'm doing that and all of that stuff. But I feel like I'm getting to the point in life I'm just like, it's gonna sound bad, but I don't give a fuck. Like I just like there's certain particular things in life that are happening. So for example, someone's talking about I don't know, so some gossip at work of like this person's done this or whatever. I'm just like, I don't give a fuck.
I
like, really don't. Like it's just just like I just don't care. Like and a lot of times like there's been a lot of interesting conversations around that sort of mindset as well with people, because people then kind of think that I don't care at all. Which is not the case. It just means that I don't think that situation is just as big as people tend to make it out.
You have to prioritize.
And things live in people's heads. A lot of things are not even like, you know, like you might think, oh my God, like I said this thing to that person, and the person might be feeling that type of way. We make up a whole story around something.
And they don't even
Yeah,
remember.
and you ask them like, I didn't even feel a type of way
That's
about
me
it.
when I go out when I'm drinking.
Yeah.
The next day I'm like, oh my God, everyone hates me.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, you were fine.
But that's the interesting part as well. So I've explained this to Aladdin before. Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously I'm hungover today.
Yeah.
But the whole point of like, so with drinking, yeah. You know that scientifical part of like when basically when you start drinking, the first part of your brain that it hits your frontal cortex.
Okay.
And
Come on, teach me. I don't know any of this.
So that part of the brain is basically responsible for like we start our values there.
Okay.
You know, our beliefs, basically all the rational decision making sits there.
Right.
So hence why a person can be like, you know what, I'm just gonna have one drink and then I'm done.
Okay.
But that one drink can hit that part
And
of the
then
brain,
change
and then
your decision
it suppresses it. Yeah, then you go, oh, another drink, and then basically like people sometimes end up doing things they would have never even imagined they would do.
Yeah.
Because that function of the brain, which is the values, and it's not functioning. It's not there.
That's really. So I actually think that part of the brain might be the one that develops a bit later in boys. I'm not just saying that, but that is a thing, isn't it?
No, it's a thing. So it fully develops by the age of like 18 to 19.
Yeah, and I know for boys it's a bit delayed in comparison to girls. I was listening to a podcast. It was really, really interesting, and it was just saying that that's why boys will make like silly decisions for a longer period of time, and it's not because you're idiots. It's actually
100%
like biology.
It's a thing. It's a real thing.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, I think alcohol is just like I'm not against drinking. Like I actually used to. Aladdin knows when we used to film our podcast, we'd be drinking all the time. But it's like there's so many functional alcoholics in the world. And it's crazy. Like, and I would actually say that I feel like I was like a functioning alcoholic in the sense of I didn't ever rely on drinking, but someone looking from the outside could say that I did, because I would drink every single week. And it's like, okay, if you don't need it, why are you drinking? Like, if you're in on a night out with your friend, why do you need to drink? And since I started my therapy, I only drink on occasions now, and I've cut it out, and my whole life has like changed. And I'm just more productive. Like, I used to be like, oh, I don't really get hangovers. And that's because I wasn't being sick or I didn't have a headache. But
it was still affecting you physically.
Your body, physically. Like, you're tired. You don't want to do anything. You'll procrastinate the whole day about doing simple tasks. And then when I changed that, I was just like, bro, I've got a lot done, you know? Yeah. So now it's like, okay, cool. Occasion, summer, I can do what I want. Summer, I'm out here. But I feel like downtime is really important as well, like just cutting that stuff out. And my mind has never been more clear. And yeah, like I feel like a lot of things are finally happening for me because I'm finally prioritizing myself. And that makes sense about the brain thing, because I'm like, that's why my decisions were just all over the place. Because how long does alcohol stay in your system? Do you know?
For time.
A long time, right?
Yeah, for time,
So if I'm drinking, and I used to like drink like 2.5 bottles of Prosecco like on one night, which is ridiculous. Yeah, that is ridiculous. Yeah. But if you saw me, I look like this. Because my body was just so used to it.
Yeah, your body was conditioned.
It was, it's wild. I'll never do that again.
But I'm on the same journey.
Are you?
Yeah, so like last year the last like 2-3 years I was out a lot. Like I was out partying a lot, and it got like more. I was just doing it more frequently all the time. Where when this year hit, I said, you know what, I need to like change something.
Change it.
So yeah, like last year I used to be out maybe like how many times? Maybe like 8 to 12 times a month. Which is like Friday, Saturday. Okay. Friday, Saturday. No, what was that? 8? I think about 8 times. Yeah, 8 times per month.
How did you do that though? Like, weren't you exhausted?
I was, but I was still like, I was still managing.
Yeah, it's one of them things where it's like you're hungover and then you just about have enough energy to get ready again, and then you're drinking again anyways. But like my limit, I can't even do 2 nights in a row now. I'll be
seriously.
Yeah. I'll be finished, but I'm going on holiday in the summer, so I'm like, anyways, I'll just take it easy.
Yeah, I'll just take it easy. But yeah, now it's been once per month. So far. 3 times.
This year, I think.
Aladdin's looking at me with judgy eyes.
Liar.
Yeah. No, I'm never lying.
No,
seriously, it's been
yeah. No, I think I've drunk like 3 times or 4 times this year.
Yeah.
And Yeah, I did dry January, and then the first time I drank after that, I was so sick. Like, and I say only, but I had a bottle of Prosecco because I thought, okay, 2.5, let me do one.
Yeah,
but
sounds like an improvement, innit?
Yeah, but then I was finished.
Yeah.
Like, and that even put me off even more. So I'm kind of happy that happened.
Yeah.
Because now I'm just back on my, I'll have like one drink if I need to. But yeah, no, I used to love I used to literally be like, but why don't people drink? Like, they're losers.
Yeah.
But
that's
now,
what I tell Aladdin all the time.
I know.
Why do you?
I know, but I love it. I think that's
loser.
amazing that he doesn't. Well, he's never drunk. We would tell him all our crazy stories about, like, yeah, we was drinking this and then we smoked this, and he'd be like, oh.
Why, was he judging you?
No, not at all.
Okay.
He wasn't.
He
judging
judges
us
me,
at all.
so I don't
Does
know.
He?
Yeah.
No, he loves us. You love me. Yeah. No, he never. That's what I love about him as well. I feel like he doesn't judge. Like, he has his. Well, me. He doesn't judge.
Yeah. Listen, you're lucky then.
Yet, but he does send me rude messages on Instagram. But always.
Wow.
Your responses are rude. You said I'm sorry. He's like, actually,
He said give the receipts.
Yeah, you said I'm sorry. He's like, no, actually, I'm not sorry. I'm like, how dare you take your apology from me? Yeah. Yeah.
So basically, you're a wanker.
And then we tagged him in a video, and he said, "Don't tag me in such bullshit again," or something.
Wow.
Yeah, find it. But yeah.
That is rude.
Yeah. He is rude.
Well, I'm happy to know that, it's universal. Everyone gets similar.
I just see him as like an annoying little brother. Little being the key word.
But listen, like, honestly, I can talk to you probably like all day.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna start wrapping up in a second, anyways.
Thank you for having me.
Nah, it's cool.
This is the first podcast I've done on my own.
Seriously.
Yeah, because I'm always with my co-host.
Do you know what? One of the things I need to get to cover as well, before wrapping up.
Yeah.
Is I wanted to talk to you about After 8 and the concept of it.
Okay.
Like, before we wrap up.
Ooh, okay. Do you know what? This is a good question, because we always want to know, like, how would we put it in words? And essentially what the podcast is about is like two women who are just trying to navigate their way through life and be happy, but also healing from past things and just being very open about it. And we're just two best friends, and it's been such a great journey. But that's essentially what it's about. And the concept is just being open and just fully being yourself, like, regardless of being judged.
But why the name After 8?
Because everything, all the juicy stuff happens after 8.
Okay.
So basically, I put my kids to bed at 7:30. So this is all the reasons, and I would always call. I'm gonna say her name. I always call Chloe around that time of 8, and we'd gone through other names, and then Chloe thought of this one. She's like, "Why not After 8?" And I was like, "That's actually perfect."
That makes so much sense.
Yeah, and because we used to drink when we would record, so all of our earlier episodes we are waved. So I'm talking reckless, like it's quite mad, and that would.
What, 2.5 bottles of Prosecco? Yeah.
No.
No, I'm joking.
Not for the recording.
No, I'm joking.
For the recording. But we did do. There's one episode though. I'm a mess, and I was just like, and even
and you
that.
Put it out. You still put it out.
No, I put it out.
Yeah,
because I'm
that.
like,
I love that. I love
it's
that.
about being real.
Yeah, I love that.
And it was like I drunk a lot, and I was just chatting shit, but I chat shit. Anyways, like, so I am who I am. But that's what it is. But it's great. Anyone who wants to listen to it, After 8 podcast. Yeah.
Do you know what? So when I saw the name, I was thinking, like, what? Something must happen after 8.
Yeah.
Something's happening. I don't know what's happening.
Our alter egos come out.
Yeah.
I mean, in my professional job, I'm a very professional person. Like, I have to be professional all the time. So After 8, like, this other side of Olympia can just, like, come out and be, be present. I love it. Yeah, I'm like two people. But my mum don't listen.
That's kind of been like a theme during this podcast, because I think when you started earlier, when you start talking about your childhood a little bit, talking about school and like how you'd be the instigator, but people would think that you're not. So it's kind of like having
that balance, and it's not feeling like a fraud anymore, because I felt like a bit of a fraud for such a long time. When I was like, I mean, I was a bit of a fraud because I'd openly be like, okay, yes, I'm this person. But so it's nice, and it was like something I did for myself.
You've built integrity since, which is a good thing.
Yeah, and it was just After 8 podcast is just a really nice place and safe space for me to just be me.
Mm.
And I think I'm hilarious.
Can I just say something around safe space?
Sorry.
But, huh?
Yeah.
No, there's something about that. So people talk about like, oh, we need to create safe space for people to share things and all of that stuff. Actually, and that's one of the things I wanted to recognize within you. I think it's about being brave enough. It's not about having a safe space, because that space will never. Sometimes it might never come. I think it's about being brave enough, because only when we're brave we find out if we can trust someone, or if we can do particular things. So it's about being brave to kind of overcome.
That's true, and actually
the barrier.
Yeah. So do you feel like you can just be yourself anywhere now?
That's me all day long.
Yeah, I'm still battling with that one. Like, and that's why I say like safe space, because what's great about my podcast is that I can really anyone can listen to it. Of course they can, but there's definitely like a target audience, and I know that space is like safe from, for example, like my mum or my aunties listening, or my work colleagues. Like, they're not gonna listen to a podcast about two black girls. Like, they're not gonna, my colleagues are not going to listen to that. So it's like, that's such a safe space for me, knowing that that's separate because of my professional career. It's there are no like, oh, it's after work. It's like when you're like a teacher or when you're a nurse, like you have to have this image almost 24/7. And I'm probably one of the few nurses out there who's just like, fuck that. I'm not gonna, like, I want to do this career, but it's not gonna control my life.
But you're being authentic, because most people, like, my assumption is that most people have their own personal lives, and they have other things as well.
Exactly.
They have their own after 8.
Yeah, exactly.
Or after 9, or whenever it happens. So like, my thing is like, why do people pretend like they don't?
Because but within these careers, like, it's actually a thing that they tell you, like, you can't. Like, for example, teachers can.
But everyone does it.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly. That's the problem.
And if you're teaching kids that these people that they're looking at aren't human, and I feel like that's so damaging, because it's like, if kids could see that adults are still idiots, I feel like they would grow up better.
I love that.
Do you know what I mean? Because I'm still like a 15-year-old.
Kids are smart. Kids are smarter than us.
Literally. So I feel like that could be so amazing for them to just see someone being real, but at the same time, when they have to have their shit together and teach you, they're doing that.
So being able to do both.
Exactly. To do both things. And so that's sort of one of my things where I was just like, do you know what? I'm just gonna start it. And if they bring it up to me in my workplace and they're not happy with it, my question would be to them, how has this affected my work here? And if they could give me that answer, then we can talk. But I don't think it's enough.
That's a great question.
Yeah, I've already planned it because I'm sure.
No, that's a great question. That's a great question. Do you know what? I've had this interesting moment last week. Was it last week? So I was going to give a speech. No, I was going to. I gave a speech last week.
Yeah.
And it was so obviously I live in Newham Borough, and it was so they're doing like a strategy launch for like suicide prevention.
Oh, amazing.
So the man talk thing, that's what I was talking about, because that's part of that anyway. So anyway, I was talking about that. But when I was going there, so the day before, because I was planning everything out, I was thinking like, there's going to be a presentation, so you need to put a PowerPoint together, whatever. There's also people going to be wearing suits, so I need to go there. Obviously, I've got a suit and stuff like that. But I thought, let me actively challenge that. And I was thinking, I'm not going to put a PowerPoint together. I'm going to see if they've got a problem with it.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to go in a suit. And I was like literally like one of the only people there without a suit. Yeah. I was wearing trainers, jeans, comfortable, and a t-shirt.
Yeah.
And do you know what? It was so empowering, because I felt like I was just being myself. Yeah. And I didn't care if people thought or felt like I wasn't maybe fitting the image or what was meant to be happening there, and it was sick.
And did anyone say anything?
No one said nothing.
Yeah, and that's one thing I noticed as well, is that fear will stop you from doing things and no one will say anything, like, or not wanting to like stand out. So like in my job, obviously, so I don't know if I mentioned I'm a nurse, so the type of nursing I do is different. So I don't work on the wards. I like do research studies for sickle cell and thalassemia and stuff like that. So I'm mainly office based, but then when I see patients, I'm in more of a clinical setting, and I used to always have to wear uniform, to have a conversation with patients about research. And I just was just like, I'm not wearing it anymore. Like, the doctors are sitting here doing examinations, touching them, wearing their own clothes. I don't really get the rationale here. So now I don't wear my uniform in clinic anymore. Unless I know I'm doing something clinical, like injections, like then I will, obviously that's a policy I need
but
to
that
follow.
makes sense.
But so but my other colleagues will still wear theirs, but no one has said anything to me.
But then that's the thing. But you're brave enough to kind of challenge it, because people will still wear yeah. Some people might even ask that question of like, why am I wearing this? But
Yeah,
no
because
one
I
would.
did feel like, and obviously my other job, I used to have to wear uniform 12 hours straight, and I hated it. So I was kind of like traumatized. I was like, I don't want to wear this anymore. But yeah, like I said, obviously in terms of following policies and like doing my job right, I will definitely do that. But I think to have a conversation, I don't need to be dressed up as a nurse. Like they know I'm a nurse. They see me every week.
Yeah. I mean, there's certain things that have been just passed down, or there's certain systems that just been running in a particular way, where like there's not many people brave enough to go like, hold on, actually this makes no sense.
Yeah,
or,
yeah.
I think that shouldn't be like that, or this should be different.
And it was great because one of the doctors that I worked closely with was just like, she saw me without my uniform on, and she was just like, oh, that makes sense. Like, she's like, I don't know why they make you guys wear uniform for this stuff, because you're not doing anything different to us. And I was just like, oh, at least she notices. And maybe that's why no one said anything, because they know what could they say?
Yeah,
but
as some people are probably scared. But yeah, anyways, Aladdin's kind of putting a little bit of pressure on me, so I got you, bro. I'm gonna start checking out.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
But we're not done yet.
Oh, we know what? Sorry.
No.
I'll say it again. I'll save it.
So first thing is this. So do you have anything you want to promote? And this is broken down into 2 different parts.
Okay.
So one being something that is, it doesn't belong to you. So it can be like a movie, it could be, a book.
Okay.
Maybe, I don't know. And it can be anything that doesn't belong to you. And the second thing is something that belongs to you.
Okay. Let me try and think. I'm trying to think of a good book. Clearly, I don't read that much. Is this recording? So I'm gonna cut these bits out.
No, we're still recording. Yeah.
Okay. Don't put this. Don't put this
Why?
bit in.
It's about authenticity, right?
That's true. Okay. Fine.
We're keeping it in, by the way.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Like you said, I'll be myself. Okay, so the thing that I want to promote is a Instagram page on Instagram called the Motherhood Group, and they basically raise awareness around Black maternal health, and just, I guess, advocating as Black women and like challenging all the issues that we have. I don't know if you know, like there's Black women are 5 times more likely to die in childbirth than a white woman.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So yeah, so there's all of these discrepancies in the UK. So they're a great page, and they raise.
How come that's what's the reason behind that?
So a lot of the time, there's like a lot of unconscious bias in the healthcare system, anyways, and it's just stuff like, so there's a lot of issues.
So it's sort of like someone might be neglected, or.
So it could be neglected. It could be like, Black women are known to not be listened to as much. So we're seen to be stronger than a white woman. So when a white woman is in pain, she'll be listened to like that. When a Black woman is in pain, it's like, oh, but you'll be okay. So their responses to us is usually a lot slower. Then there's also this big issue of there's mistrust in the healthcare system between the Black community and the NHS in this country. So not just Black maternal health, but for example, I look after a lot of patients with sickle cell. They don't trust healthcare professionals. And when new medications and stuff are brought out, they're less likely to go for it, because it's like, was that really looked at for me?
Yeah.
Like, is that going to be safe for me? So there's a lot of different issues. And it's just like, I guess, there is a campaign called 5 Times More. They're a separate company, but there's lots of different groups at the moment who are raising awareness around that. And I'm actually one of the parents on their advisory board, so I'll be working on projects with them in the future. So just shout out to them. And also, sorry, can I do one more? There's another page called Black Mums Up Front. They're amazing. I worked on a project with them recently as well to raise awareness of strep in Black children, because I had an issue with my son where he wasn't diagnosed properly, and I basically had to diagnose him and had to force them to treat him. And it turned out he did have it, and he actually needed extra treatment. And it was like, if I hadn't have done that, who knows what would have happened. So those pages, I think, is really important.
No, thanks for sharing that as well, because like I always like to understand like experiences and perspectives that I might not have understood before. So that's a new
and it's really
really
interesting. And there's so many women with so many stories. And Like, it will shock you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look into it more actually.
And then promoting something for myself. I mean, at the moment, what I'm trying to work on mainly is, like I told you, I'm working with these other pages to raise awareness. But my main thing at the moment is I'm working towards starting a advocacy group for parents and just sharing experiences, learning from experiences of how we can protect our children, and just the right way to handle things. Because I think we spoke even earlier about if you come across if you don't come across in the right way, you say things at the wrong time, people won't listen to you. So I guess just teaching parents from someone who's a parent and also a healthcare professional the best way to I guess navigate challenges. So look out on my TikTok, which is just Olympia _. I'll be having more videos out soon. But yeah, view all my videos, please. I've got my story about my son's strep A on there as well, which is on like 200k views, so it's got around a lot, and there's a lot of comments of people in the exact same situation, which was really like eye-opening, which made me think I need to do something to help now. So that's going to be coming soon, but that's it.
No, I love that.
Yeah.
When you get a chance to say something to 8 billion people, what are you going to tell them?
8 billion people. Give me money.
Love that. There's no rules.
Give me money, please. 1p each. We're done.
That's lit.
That's all I need. Yeah. That's it.
I like that. Well, no, £1 each.
Well, I'll take 1p.
Yeah.
I don't even care.
I was going to say £1 better. But
£1 would be better, but 1p is asking for less, you know?
What would you do with 8 billion?
I would give majority of it away, and not to charities. I would want to make my own charity.
So give it back to people. Give them £1 back.
Because I don't need that. Yeah, basically. I would.
No, I was just
I
joking.
think billionaires should be illegal. I don't think you should be allowed to be a billionaire. I think it's absolutely hoarding money, and it's ridiculous. You will never spend that money unless you're gonna.
There should be like some sort of cap.
There's got to be a cap. And I feel like that's the problem in the world anyway. People are just
That's a really
greedy.
good perspective.
I think it's ridiculous. Yeah. And I mean, like I said, give me £1 each, but obviously I'm joking. But I do feel like there should be a cap. It's just
That's a
silly.
really good perspective. I didn't think about that.
Yeah. I think about it quite often.
People had a cap
these.
of like, don't know, like 2 mil or 5 mil, whatever.
Yeah. Or even if it was a bit more, because I know if you're like, you have that type of lifestyle, you might want to live the most luxurious life. So 2 mil might not be enough.
Yeah, of course.
But if we're even saying 200 mil and you're going to cap it there are billionaires. So look how much more is left. Do you know what I mean? They're never going to spend that. Their families aren't going to spend that. It's just silly. But yeah.
No, it is.
Yeah.
It really is. But yeah, thanks for being there.
It's been good.
Thanks for bearing in mind that I'm hungover and...
You've done great.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known.
Seriously?
Yeah, you just got baited up by.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm I think you would have, if you knew me, would have known the difference, but yeah.
Yeah, oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, I know you now.
Yeah.
Bestie.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, on that note, yeah, I appreciate being here.
Thank you.
And